So getting back to our scenario from the previous video, I have a victim machine. They have Windows XP. I start searching from different websites that we used in the previous video, and I search for what problem Windows XP have, and I was able to go and find in security focus this specific vulnerability. You remember that we have 12 pages filled of vulnerability, but I'm going to choose one that was very common in Windows XP and Windows Server 2003. That's why Microsoft stopped supporting them, because it was a very common vulnerabilities that allow you to access any Windows XP right away. The vulnerability name is called DCOM exploit or DCOM RPC. Now RPC is a service inside Windows, and they find the vulnerability that can be used to compromise the system. So if you go there and you go to the exploit part, you're going to find that they are giving you the exploit, but they are written in C. So if you open this exploit, for instance, you're going to see that this is a C code. So I downloaded this exploit inside my hacker machine just to test it. And let's log into this machine and let me show you how it works. And let me remind you one more time that this is the hard way. I mean, later on this section, you're going to see that you don't need to go through all of that. It can be done automated, but you need to understand. And this is what this course is all about: to understand the technique, not the tools. So I did download this exploit, and I put the exploit inside the folder on my C drive under the name of DCOM exploit, and this was the exploit. Now the problem is you cannot use this exploit this way. You have to compile it. Okay, so we don't need to go through how to compile the exploit. This is out of our scope, but eventually I need to have an executable file, which is this one. Now if I go and try to run this one, if I go to this specific path from my command prompt, cd dcom exploit, and then dcom exploit, and I type enter, I said, okay, this is not the right way to use this exploit. This is how it needs to be used. You type dcom exploit, then the target ID, then the target IP. Now let's check the target IP first. So let me go to my victim machine and let's see the IP. And I want to remind you that through the reconnaissance phase, I explained to you how easy it is to get the IP for anyone, remotely or locally. So I just need to get the IP here, 192.168.95.150, and this is fine, but what is the target ID? So I know the target IP, but I don't know what is exactly. So he gave me a list. Okay, target ID, if it's Windows Server, this will be the target ID. If it's XP, so this part has been given from his side, and this part you should have know it. So I'm going to rewrite the command, and then in my case, my target ID is 5 because it was in this XP service back 0. And the IP of my machine, the victim machine, is 192.168.50. I'm sorry, 95.150. And we click on enter. And what this tool used to do, it was just opening a port remotely. I mean, once you launch this one, it will go to the victim machine and open a port 44, and we can verify that the exploit was successful. If we go here and we open the command prompt, and do you remember how to check the port, the open port, net state -an, you should find port 44 open. So it's a huge amount of port, but you should find 44 open, and let's see, 44, yeah, here you go. So he already success to open a port on remotely on the victim machine. So any computer has Windows XP. We used to use these tools just to run the exploit, and it will open a port on this machine. Now, what should I do with a port? I mean, yeah, it opened a port. How can I connect to a port, to an open port? Actually, there is a tool that I want you to introduce to. I want to introduce the tool for you. And it's very, very handy. And we used to call that the hacker Swiss Army, that we use that all the time. It's called Netcat or NC. And it's built in inside Linux, but you know, you can download the Windows copy. And this tools, it's used for many like utility, or it's used for many function, but one of the function is to connect to a remote port. So if I know that my victim machine has a port 44 open, I can use Netcat to connect to that. So I can type NC and the computer IP, the victim computer IP, .95.150 and then space and the port number. So if the port is open, I'll be connecting to this machine 3, 4, and we click on enter, and yes, here you go. Now we are on the victim machine, and if you want to check, if I type ipconfig, I can see that I am on the victim machine. So let me just like create a folder or something. Make dir hacked 123. I think the command is not right. It's md, sorry, md hacked. md stands for make directory. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it already exists. So hacked xyz, and if we go to the victim machine, we can see that there is a folder under this name on the C drive. So the point is, I was able to hack to a system, but not depending on the I'm not depending on the victim behavior or his awareness. No, I found a weakness. This is hacked XYZ. I find the weakness and I was able to hack to the system through this weakness. So this is actually my objective. But the point is, it was not easy before. So you saw we went through some process, and I even brief the steps. I told you need to download the exploit and compile it, and sometimes you need to do modification. Maybe this specific exploit didn't request any modification, but some of them you have to open the exploit and you have to change inside the exploit so they will match the victim machine. So this was kind of complicated because exploit used to be written in different language, so it was not that easy. So this specific vulnerability was related to a service called RPC that it's by default installed on the system and it's up and running. If you open your Windows and you check inside services, you will find a service called RPC where you can check this RPC problem, and they find a program that can exploit this one. It stands for remote procedures call. This is the one. So it's something that comes with the Windows and you cannot disable, because if it disables, it will affect other service. And because this specific vulnerability and exploit was very, very common few years back, they created a graphical program to use it. So it was a nice program, and let me know if you want it. I can share it with you. So it's called the RPC GUI. It was a very easy program to use, so it allows you to compromise any Windows XP or Server 2003 application. Just write the IP here and click on exploit, and that's it, you are on it. On the next video, I'm going to show you a framework called Metasploit, and Metasploit allow you to do that automatic. You don't have to search, it's just a framework. It collects all the vulnerability and exploit. And you have to select what exploit you are looking for. You put the IP of the victim and you'll get access right away. So you don't have to go through all those steps. And, if the exploit is written with C or Perl, it doesn't make a difference. He will compile that and he's just going to allow you to use it. So in the next video, I'm going to show you the Metasploit framework that was used to standardize this kind of attacks.